For all things great iron and hard top, it's Kevlu and Steve since the Sandbox.
Now I'm going to dive in with my mock draft 1. Before I go in with my mock draft 1, make sure you guys are catching up with all the Since the Sandbox content. I finished up my top 10 positional rankings. I finished up my top 25. Make sure to go and check those out. Show some love. And of course, leave 5 stars because we deserve nothing less. If you guys like the shirts, they are a new Since the Sandbox shirt. But we only ordered a couple for the friends and the family, you know. But if you guys are interested in some Since the Sandbox apparel, saying that Since the Sandbox podcast is Boston's #1 sports podcast, feel free to reach out. Maybe, just maybe, we can get you guys a shirt. We're here with the #1 overall pick of the draft. Okay, I feel like this pick is really going to set up a lot of building blocks throughout the draft. And look, the #1 overall pick is usually, you know, pre-assumed, right? It's usually one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, but the Jaguars have their quarterback, so I wouldn't be surprised if they traded out of this spot. But I'm not predicting any trades in this mock draft. I'm going to go from 1 to 32, so make sure you guys are staying around for all the picks. 1, I have the Jaguars getting Ikwanu. You know, I really just feel like he's, as of right now, you know, the best tackle in the draft. We still have some pro days to come if everybody stays healthy. You know, him or Evan Neal are probably going to be one of the 2 top guys. Evan Neal, obviously coming from Alabama. But I think it's interesting because the Jaguars tagged Cam Robinson, their tackle, to return next season. So, you know, that's an interesting choice. But the Jaguars have also made a lot of interesting choices in the past couple of off seasons. So that's something to keep in mind. But I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted a pass rusher here. You know, if they went with the Aiden Hutchinson pick, you know, it wouldn't be the most splashy pick, I'm not going to lie. And when you have a franchise quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, I feel like you should do everything you can to make sure he succeeds and protect him. But, you know, getting a pass rusher opposite of Josh Allen will help you compete in the division tremendously. #1 overall pick, Ikwanu. All right, #2, the Lions. I have the Lions going with Aiden Hutchinson, just a Michigan pick. You know, I feel like this is the place where he's rumored to go often throughout a lot of mock drafts and throughout a lot of draft coverage. And I feel like the Lions have a lot of needs, honestly. Having Aiden Hutchinson go here at 2, you know, I feel like he can come in, make an immediate impact. And, you know, we'll see if a lot of the young guys on that defense can start to pick up their play and, you know, just play better as a cohesive unit. And maybe, you know, that can string together some wins for the Lions going forward. All right, #3, Houston. Houston has their tackle with Laramie Tunsil. They could also draft another tackle to go with their next franchise quarterback, whoever that may be. Maybe Houston's in the quarterback market here, but to be honest, I don't see there being too many guys that show franchise quarterback traits. So that's why I'm going to shy away from the quarterback position here. And I'm going to go Derek Stingway Jr., the cornerback from LSU. And look, he's arguably one of the better players in the entire draft, in the entire process. And one of the other better players in the entire draft process, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, is also coming from that cornerback position. So you can't go wrong. I always feel like there's some sneaky defenders that creep their way up into the top 5, and I really wouldn't be surprised if it was a cornerback. I know a lot of people were saying Kyle Hamilton can go early, can go before these guys, but people have trouble valuing the safety position. I know Kyle Hamilton is great in coverage, but realistically, getting yourself a lockdown corner and Derek Stingway Jr., you can't go wrong, and that's that pick for Houston at #3. At 4, the Jets. The Jets drafted Mekhi Becton last year. They have their tackle. They have their quarterback with Zach Wilson. Now let's get him some weapons to continue this development, right? I feel like that's really important. People will definitely have their preference on what wide receiver will go first in this draft. I'm going to give the Jets the best wide receiver in the draft, in my opinion. And here at 4, I have the Jets taking Garrett Wilson from OSU. You know, OSU has 2 great wide receivers in this class. We also will talk about Chris Olave in this mock draft. But here at 4, you know, I really think the Jets need a big playmaker, get some splashy, flashy guys that, you know, can really make, you know, the fans interact and engage with the Jets. And, you know, it's been a long time since the Jets have made the playoffs. And if they want to establish a team that's going to make the playoffs in the next couple of years, you got to make sure that you have a pass catcher that can catch north of 1,000 yards. At 5, the Giants. We all know the Giants' biggest blaring needs on the team is the offensive line, right? And it just so happened that one of the best two tackles in this draft fell to the Giants at 5. Now, the Giants, the Jets, the Jaguars, I think they're all in very similar scenarios with, having a lot of young guys on their roster. These teams could realistically trade back, get additional draft compensation or future draft compensation, and can really help really grow and groom their team. But I do have the Giants taking this pick, and the reason why I have them taking this pick is because one of the biggest needs on the team is available here, and this is one of the great players in the draft, and that's Devin Lloyd, offensive tackle from Alabama. I mean, this dude made 330 pounds look real good. He's tall, he's explosive, absolutely dominant, and I mean, coming from Alabama and how productive their wide receivers and running backs are, you need to have a good offensive line for that all to happen. So I have Devin Lloyd here at 5. I think it's a perfect fit for the Giants, although I do think it would be drastic for Devin Lloyd to drop to 5. I realistically think he'll go within the top 3 picks, but in my mock draft, he does not. At 6, the Carolina Panthers. I have them taking Trayvon Walker, and this is somebody that's viewed as a little developmental, but he has that bend, that explosiveness for one of the outside linebacker defensive end positions to really go after the quarterback. And that Carolina defense, they have Brian Burns, they have Jeremy Chin, they drafted a great cornerback last year. And, they have to continue to build that defense if they want to compete in the NFL. And, I think Trayvon Walker is a great fit here. They have Derek Brown on the interior defensive line. So adding some pass rush to the outside of that defensive line, that's really going to turn this defense into a solid unit. If their offense can complement them well, keep them off the field, I really feel like this can be one of the better units in the entire NFL. Going to number 7, the Giants pick again. Really interesting the way this works out. The Giants end up filling needs on both sides of the ball while also getting two of the best players in the draft. Here at 7, I have the Giants taking Ahmad Sauce Gardner. Now look, like I said, this guy could be gone at 3 with Houston taking a cornerback in my mock draft. If Ahmad Gardner was gone at 3, I think the Giants would still just take Derek Stingway Jr. at this pick. Building both sides of the ball with your back end in the secondary and your front line for your offense, I feel like that would be extremely important, and that's only going to make, your team so much better. And this is another scenario where you could say, okay, New York Giants, you just got rid of Logan Ryan. Why not get Kyle Hamilton, the safety that can do it all? It's good having the versatility in those players, but we have Xavier McKinney, we had Logan Ryan, we had Jabril Peppers. Those were all hybrid guys that could play multiple positions, and Jabril Peppers is a free agent. We just cut Logan Ryan. Xavier McKinney is in our backfield as far as the secondary goes. And I just think if we pair him up with James Bradbury, we have 2 lockdown corners. And I just feel like, that's going to be really troubling for opposing teams. So Ahmad Sauce Gardner going here 7 to the Giants. But like I said, this could be a likely traded pick. Number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. They just signed Marcus Mariota. They just moved on from their franchise quarterback in Matt Ryan. So this could go a bunch of different ways. They could go quarterback if they like somebody in this class. I don't think that that's what they're going to do, though. I think the Atlanta Falcons need to get some splashy players to make sure that their team, their fans, their franchise is engaged. And, with the whole Calvin Ridley scenario, you've got an offensive superstar with Kyle Pitts on the offense. Go and build that defense. We know that Atlanta Falcons defense is what cost them a Super Bowl a couple years ago. And, just by getting, a couple plays on that side of the ball will help you shape a better team. And, this could be one of the better values in the entire draft. Kyle Hamilton here at 8 going to the Atlanta Falcons. I really feel like this could be a great fit. Have a young leader go in, be able to play his style of ball. And if he's a great safety, put him at safety. If he's a great corner, put him at corner. If he could play hybrid nickel in that slot package, so be it. Put him anywhere that he's going to succeed. He is only going to make your defense better. At 9, Seattle Seahawks. This is where my first quarterback comes off the board. This pick was traded in the Russell Wilson trade from Denver to Seattle. And I honestly think that Malik Willis is the best quarterback in the class. I think he's the first quarterback on. I think he goes to Seattle at 9. And if it's not Malik Willis, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a different quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and throw some darts at Baker Mayfield. I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo would be a person that'll end up with the Seattle Seahawks just being traded inside the same division. I really don't see that happening. I don't see that to be realistic. But Malik Willis has a big arm. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are both still on that team. They just added Noah Fant. So that's going to be an extremely huge addition. Somebody's going to have to get them the ball if Seattle wants to win games and be productive. And I know that defensive side needs help as well. But get the best quarterback. There's not a lot of urgency to select a quarterback. Stay put. Stay at 9. Get your guy, Malik Willis. Okay, at 10, the Jets. Another arguable great value at this position. One of the best in the draft. And the Jets having multiple picks, like I mentioned earlier, this could be a scenario where they trade back and reshape for the future. But no trades in my mock. At 10, I have the Jets getting Kayvon Thibodeau. And look, this is, like I said, one of the best values. I mean, this guy's talked about going 5 to the Giants. He's talked about going earlier possibly to Houston at 3. But with the way my top 10 works out, there's always some top guys that drop outside the top 10, and that's fine. Sometimes it works out better. I was having this conversation with Steph Lewis the other day at work, and we were talking about, scenarios that you would really want to be drafted into, or if you were a quarterback coming from college, where would you want to go? And there's a lot of different factors that go into that, but I always think that the more structured teams, the more teams that are already put together are going to help quarterbacks succeed the most. So that's why I have Malik Willis at 9. At 10, Kayvon Thibodeau. The Jets aren't reaching. They're getting 2 great value picks. And, I just really feel like that this is going to be somebody that's going to be a building block in shaping their future. And imagine putting him next to Quinnen Williams. We know how good he was. Those are 2 great defensive linemen. Now, the Jets have great building blocks going forward. They get their wide receiver. They get their defensive end pass rusher. Gonna be making moves for the Jets. Now, it's going to be troubling, to make some noise in that division. The Bills are good. The Pats are good. Miami's going to be getting better. The Jets, come out and surprise some people. Make some splashes. We would love to see it. Robert Saleh, it's on you. All right, 11. We just saw the Washington Commanders get their quarterback in Carson Wentz. Now, people could look at this trade a bunch of different ways, right? Carson Wentz could be overvalued. Getting all these draft picks, was a second overall pick, that he has a good supporting cast. So Washington coming in, getting their guy. They have Antonio Gibson. They have Terry McLaurin. And now I think they're coming in to get a wide receiver. And this is somebody that was talked about as the best wide receiver in the class. And this is USC's Drake London. More of the bigger body. And, I feel like he can really go up and get in. This can help stretch the field. They have Logan Thomas. We know how tough he is, the injury he played through last year. And like I said, Terry McLaurin is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. It's just he hasn't had the wide receiver to really complement him with that. So getting a rookie wide receiver here to pair him up, I think that this would be a great fit. I know Washington needs some offensive line. A lot of their guys did leave in free agency. But Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, I think you can find some luck later on in the rounds. Go and get a playmaker to help your team. All right, here at 12, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings can go in a lot of directions. The only direction that they cannot go is the wide receiver position. What I see the Vikings doing is I honestly think that they're going to get one of the better values in the draft, and they're going to go left tackle Charles Cross. And the reason why I say that is I feel like that offensive line has been so inconsistent over the past couple years. And whether you view Kirk Cousins as your option, as your franchise, for the Vikings, then, okay, good. You lock up your left tackle. But if you don't, get your left tackle now so that when Kirk Cousins leaves next year after he just signed his 1-year extension, then you have, one of your building blocks. You have your wide receivers. Go and get somebody that's going to hold up your future franchise quarterback and get him at a great value. 12 is a great spot to get a franchise offensive lineman, and Charles Cross has been graded as one of the best in the entire class. At 13, Houston with another pick. Look, Houston has a lot of needs, maybe the most needs to fill in the entire NFL. But if they're going to get a defensive guy, Derek Stingway Jr., with that first pick at number 3, I think they're going to need somebody to complement Davis Mills if he's going to be their guy. They have Laramie Tunsil there, right? Let's go and get a wide receiver. Brandon Cooks has been good over there. Brandon Cooks has been really solid and underrated for the past couple of years. But let's go and get one of the better wide receivers in the class, and that's Chris Olave. We talked about his speed coming from OSU. Some people say he's better than Garrett Wilson, who went 4th to the Jets in my mock draft. But I just feel like this would be a good fit. Have somebody that could stretch the field. That division, you need to score points to keep up with the Titans. You're going to need points to keep up with the Colts now that they have Matt Ryan. So going to be interesting. Chris Olave here at 13. At 14, the Baltimore Ravens. Look, Baltimore can go in a lot of different directions with this pick. I don't want to say that they have a lot of needs to fill, but they are coming off of an injury-plagued year, and they don't know who's necessarily going to be able to produce the same way they did before the injuries, right? So I could see if the Ravens went, offensive line, offensive tackle. Ronnie Stanley was a little bit banged up. They just invested in Morgan Moses to go on the opposite side. So it wouldn't be a shocker, but the Baltimore Ravens play their best when they have a great defense. Now, this defense has been okay for the past couple of years, but I feel like this defense is really what prevented the Ravens from getting to where they need to go. And most great Ravens defenses are included with a great Ravens linebacker. And we haven't really seen that dominant linebacker come through for the Ravens. Their cornerback play hasn't been too great either, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is the direction they decided to go. But in my mock draft, I have the first interior linebacker going off the board, and this is Nakobe Dean from Georgia. Look, you're talking about a guy that can go from sideline to sideline, that can drop in coverage, that can cover tight ends, that can cover the running backs. This is all extremely important because we know that that's what Ray Lewis did. We also know that that's what C.J. Mosley did, and that's when the Ravens defense was at its best. Okay, Nakobe Dean is going to have to come in, going to have to make a splash, going to have to elevate that defense tremendously, and I think he could do it. Him alongside Patrick Queen, that's going to be an absolutely dynamic duo at that linebacker position. Next pick, Philly for 2. 15, 16, and 19. 3 picks within the top 20. Absolutely incredible, and if you want my honest opinion, I feel like Philly probably set themselves up this way so that maybe they could trade up for a possible quarterback because we know that they weren't necessarily in love with Jalen Hurts. But I think they should definitely let Jalen Hurts ride it out. I think he showed some promise last year, and the Eagles definitely had a better year than I thought that they were going to have. So you need to make sure that you're going to get some picks that are really going to absolutely improve your team. In 15, for Philly, I have them getting a left tackle. Trevor Penning, look, this is someone that was viewed as one of the better tackles in the draft. Obviously, we have Ikwonu, Neal, Cross, all already gone. But Penning coming here at 15, I still think that this is a solid pick. And, I really feel like once they solidify, that tackle position, he can go to left tackle. Andre Dillard could stay at left tackle, and Penning can go to right tackle. Whatever it is, having depth at that tackle position is really important. My first initial reaction was going to have them taking Tyler Linderbaum, the best center in the class, but I know Jason Kelce just resigned back. He could have a lot of great football left in him, depending on what the Eagles commit to contractually. But we'll see what happens. Having tackle depth is extremely important, and I feel like the Eagles definitely need that to have a sustainable offense. At 16, this guy shot up draft boards after his combine performance. Inside, interior, defensive lineman, Jordan Davis. Guys, this dude is an absolute bull. 330, 340, 6'6", 6'7", running the way he did. He run, a 4.7 40? Absolutely crazy. Lining him up next to Fletcher Cox, that's extremely troubling to cover, and I feel like this would be a great fit. I'm a Giants fan. You guys should know this by now. If the Giants drafted Jordan Davis and we had to see him twice a year, I think we would be in a lot of trouble knowing what our offensive line looks like. I know the Giants are going to have to continue to build that, but Jordan Davis would absolutely be an offensive line wrecker for years to come. All right, 17. The next linebacker gone in the draft. And look, I know the Chargers just selected Kenneth Murray a couple years ago and was supposed to be, absolute sideline to sideline stud. But we really haven't seen that come through yet. With the Chargers, really investing in the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. Defensively on the defensive line and in the secondary, I think it just is a perfect fit to go to the linebacker position here. And I have them taking linebacker Devin Lloyd, and I feel like this is a great fit, honestly. Like I said, another guy that can go sideline to sideline or can help in coverage. I feel like that's all extremely important. And, Devin Lloyd can really, make an impact in that AFC West. We know how competitive it's going to be. Russell Wilson in the division, Patrick Mahomes in the division, Devontae Adams now in the division. Absolutely essential that defenses are playing their best, and why not get a young, great linebacker to help you do that? At 18, New Orleans. New Orleans also is one of the teams that has a lot of holes to fill all over their board, but I have New Orleans getting a quarterback, and yes, I get it. In the real draft, we'll probably see more quarterbacks go in the top 15 than just one. But I have Kenny Pickett here at 18 going to New Orleans. I think that this is a great fit, honestly. New Orleans definitely needs a team, and when I was going through my draft process, I just came down to a couple of decisions with New Orleans, right? They have all these holes to fill on their team. I know they just signed Jameis, but you could fill all these holes all you want. If you don't have a direction for your team, if you don't have a direction for your future, and you don't have a quarterback, then none of the other holes matter. So I think you have to start trying to find some guys that are going to be your future. I don't think Jameis is your future. I think Jameis can be a good bridge. He played really well last year, but having Kenny Pickett come in, sit a year, sit 2 years, whatever it may cost, right? If you have Kenny Pickett sit a year or two, it's going to only give you more time to shape the rest of your team. Will build success around him. All right, 19, back to Philly. I have Philly taking a wide receiver here. And look, I know they drafted Devonta Smith last year. They made sure they moved in front of the Giants to get their guy. But I just think getting Jalen Hurts, another offensive weapon to go along with Michael Sanders, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, is only going to help improve that offense, score points. And why not go Jahan Dotson here? This guy, has really proved it in the college level, can come in and, really have that big playability. And I feel like that's what the Eagles need. You can't have their offense be too predictable with the running game. Or if Miles Sanders is out, you just double team Devonta Smith and then you move on from there. So this gives the team, a good direction offensively. In their top 3 picks that they had in the draft, they get 2 offensive guys, 1 defensive guy. And you continue to build throughout the draft. Philly has a lot of work to do. At 20, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has had a crazy offseason. We know that they just got their offensive guy in Mitch Trubisky. I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh went offensive line here. We know their offensive line has been damaged a little bit over the past couple of years, but a position I always feel like Pittsburgh can improve upon is their cornerback position. And one of the best guys in the class, Trent McDuffie from Washington, is still available here. And I really feel like this would be a great fit, a great pick. The Bengals have their big wide receiver room. The Browns now have Deshaun Watson. Lamar Jackson's already been an MVP and on a Madden cover. You need that secondary. You need that defensive help. And honestly, with Pittsburgh, I think they made one of the best moves in the entire offseason. It wasn't Mitch Trubisky, but Miles Jack. I think Miles Jack is going to be one of the best signings in the entire NFL this offseason. You guys just heard the first 20 picks. Before we continue with the mock draft, make sure you guys stay in tune. We have Mock Draft 2 coming to you from Florida in a couple of weeks, right before the draft starts. We have some more Meet the People series episodes coming. But if you haven't yet, go and check out the rest of our Meet the People series. We had Steph Lewis, we had Kamari Williams, Juxie, we also had Joe Ruggiero. Guys, all those conversations were great conversations. Make sure you check them out. Also, go and check out my top 10 ranking, my positional rankings, every position from quarterback all the way to safety, offense and defense. I also gave you guys my top 25 players in the NFL this year. Make sure you guys go and stay tuned to all of that. Also, like, share, follow, subscribe on YouTube, and leave a review on sensesandbox.net. We're jumping back in with the mock draft. 21 is New England's pick. And New England can go a lot of different directions. This was a team that was really improved upon last year. Bill Belichick did a great job. Mac Jones did a great job. But George Karlaftis, pass rusher. And, I really feel like New England needs that 10-plus sack guy that they've been missing for so many years, right? Chandler Jones was a great impact on that New England defense. And, Kyle Van Noy's been doing a great job. But they need that sack guy to come in and be consistent. They were hoping Chase Winovich was going to be able to do that, but he wasn't, right? And they just moved on from him. They just got another linebacker from the Browns that came over from Alabama. So pair him up with defensive end George Karlaftis. I think this is a great pick for them. And, you always need a good pass rush. Go and get your guy. At 22, Green Bay. Look, Aaron Rodgers needs a lot of help this year. He just signed himself back for a couple more long-term years in Green Bay, but we know what Green Bay does. I think Green Bay is going to address the wide receiver position in free agency a little bit. I think they'll definitely draft a couple of guys between the second and fourth round, but I do have Green Bay selecting Boye Mafe from Minnesota. I just think, you need a pass rusher. They're losing Zadarius Smith. Preston Smith is still there. He signed long-term, but the Packers are going to have a sustainable, good defense to compete. And look, they need to make more progress than just a one playoff game performance and then they're bounced, right? We need to see the Packers start playing in NFC championships, and we need to start seeing them play in Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers, you don't have a lot of time left. Now is the time. Boye Mafe for Green Bay. I think he's the best player available for them at this point. At 23, Arizona. Guys, Arizona is having a troubling offseason, if you want my honest opinion. You just lost your best pass rusher, and, they're asking themselves, where do we improve? Where do we build? We don't know if Kyler Murray's our franchise, but we do have DeAndre Hopkins. We have a couple of offensive studs. We committed to James Conner. Where do we go now? I always think when you're in doubt with your pick, you go defense. And the reason why I say that is Kyler Murray picks up a lot of the slack on the offensive side of the ball. Budda Baker was hurt last year, and he wasn't there to pick up a lot of the slack on the defensive side. Isaiah Simmons is a good linebacker, pass rusher guy, right? They have a lot of talented pieces. Go and get a secondary guy. Go and get Andrew Booth Jr. Lock up that secondary. He can be a guy that can play the slot. He can even play that safety position if you need him to on occasional packages. But a corner guy that can follow your best receiver around. Coming from Clemson, he has a lot of that playmaking ability and experience, which is extremely important. Andrew Booth. 24, Dallas. Guys, Dallas loves their pass rushers. Loves them. But they also love their offensive line. And Dallas offensive line has been, I don't want to say below average, but I will just say average. And people talked about them being the best unit in all of the NFL. I have them reinvesting in their offensive line. I have Dallas getting Bernard Raymond, the guard from Western Michigan. And look, making sure that you can establish the run. Why not get somebody that's going to help complement the guys that you just committed to on the offensive side of the ball? And the defense played good last year. You could still invest in the defense. Just do it with some later picks. Get yourself one of the best linemen in the class. At 25, Buffalo. This is a big draft for you. Kev, I know you're watching. I know you're listening. I think Buffalo has to go defense here. Their offense carried them to a point where, the rules kind of limited their results, right? And we're talking about that playoff game last year with the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo. But how you can beat good offense is better defense. And I think the Bills need, somebody up front to go along with Von Miller that can get after the quarterback. And Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle from Georgia, I honestly feel like would be a great fit. I would think Jordan Davis would be a great fit here as well, but I know that he's already gone to Philly at 16. But Ed Oliver in the middle, pairing him up with Devontae Wyatt, Von Miller on the outside, Jerry Hughes. Guys, this would be a solid defensive unit with Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, all on the back end there. That would be a really good unit. Buffalo's season would be Super Bowl or bust, drafting Devontae Wyatt. At 26, Tennessee. Guys, this is a weird pick for me. And, obviously when you get to 26 in the first round, there's still top talent available. But a lot of the guys, that you were really hoping for at this point are probably gone. I think Tennessee stays home at 26, and they make a very relaxed pick. I think they take Sam Howell, quarterback, and I think this gives them the opportunity to continue having Ryan Tannehill as their guy and still pushing for a Super Bowl. But what it also does, it keeps their future intact, right? Sam Howell could come in, and he doesn't have to play right away. Mike Vrabel knows what he's doing. He has established a very solid franchise with Tennessee since he's been there. And I just feel like Sam Howell would be a great pick, great fit for them. Making sure you have a guy after Ryan Tannehill that can come in and really, be able to take you to the promised land. That's the goal when you're drafting a franchise quarterback. And staying at 26, you wouldn't overpay for him. I think that this would be a good spot, similar to that Green Bay Aaron Rodgers scenario. 27, Tampa Bay. Guys, Tampa is now back with Tom Brady. The band is back together. And we know that a couple of their offensive linemen either left in free agency or retired. So I have Tampa addressing that offensive line. I have them getting Zion Johnson, tackle from Boston College. I just think, having depth, even if he has to play the interior line at that guard position for a little bit, for a year, so that you can have, Tristan Wirfs play his natural position and your left tackle play his natural position. I feel like this would be good. And this way, your offensive line is still sustainable after Tom Brady leaves, because this can be at any given moment at this point, right? After this year, of course. At 28, Green Bay, pick number 2. I talked about Green Bay getting an immediate need with a Boye Mafe at that pass rusher position. But with Green Bay having 2 picks, now picking up Oakland's pick, I feel like this is an important part of the offseason to really make sure you have Aaron Rodgers back. You just committed millions and millions of dollars to him. You might as well get him some pieces that are going to help complement his skill set. What better than a wide receiver from Alabama, Jameson Williams? Now, I know he's coming off an injury, probably not an ideal scenario for Green Bay, but, the Alabama wide receivers have came in and the talent has absolutely came to flourish in the NFL, and I feel like that will continue, even if he's not on the field week 1. If he's on the field week 6, it gives him a lot of time to mentally prepare for playing with Aaron Rodgers, learning the playbook. I feel like that would be a huge advantage. But if he's here for spring training camp, preseason, that's all great too, because Aaron Rodgers will definitely need that chemistry. Somebody's going to have to come in and replace Devontae Adams' production. And that's not going to be easy, and you're not going to emulate it, but you need to find success somehow. I feel like this is a good start. All right, we're almost done. At 29, Miami. I think Miami has an interesting scenario here at 29, but I do have them getting Jermaine Johnson, defensive end from Florida State. Miami is always going to need to continue bolstering their pass rush. They have a good secondary. Their offense is just solid and average. But if you have a solid and average offense, you need a above average defense to make sure that you're going to be winning games. I think that this would be a great fit. I think that this would be a great pick. Staying in Florida, having that production, go over to Miami. 30, Kansas City. Guys, Kansas City is so offensively heavy focused. And we know that Kansas City is also losing some of their defensive guys. The Honey Badger is not going to be in the back end of that secondary no more, right? We do know that they had some solid draft picks from last year. Nick Bolton did a great job coming in, playing that linebacker position for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City went with a secondary defensive back position, maybe even specifically a safety, but I do have them getting a wide receiver here. Call me crazy. I know they just signed Juju. I know they're in talks for an extension with Tyreek Hill. They have Travis Kelce. But I always feel like there's a point in the year where these top teams, the Tampa Bays, the Kansas Cities, the Green Bays, they go through a lot of injuries, and, you still need to find that production. So instead of finding that production with guys that are just 5 or 6 on your depth chart, let's make sure that we have a lot of depth. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to have Hill, Hardman, Juju. Let's add Treylon Burks, wide receiver, to the mix, and this guy coming from Arkansas has a little bit more of the big body, big playability. That would go perfect with Patrick Mahomes. And even if the play doesn't translate over this year, have him for years to come. You guys know that Patrick Mahomes is your franchise. He's going to be there for 10 years. Make sure you have someone to grow with him. Even if Burks doesn't make the impact that you would like this year, for the future, he definitely will. At 31, Cincinnati. Guys, the most blaring need for Cincinnati is definitely that offensive line. And this is one of the best values in the draft. Tyler Linderbaum, center for Cincinnati. Guys, this would be a great pick. Now, look, I know Cincinnati's invested in the offensive line with some draft picks recently, especially that tackle position. But even if Tyler Linderbaum can't come in and play center, put him at guard, right? Let him get some experience at guard. And whoever's the better center, whether him or the guy you already have in your roster, you have them compete. Right? And whatever puts together your best offensive line to keep your franchise, Joe Burrow, up, you have to do it. You have the offensive specialist with the wide receiver position. You have the running back. The defense is solid. Make sure that offensive line is good. Then continue to build the defense. 32, the last pick in the draft. The Detroit Lions. Guys, the Lions had some positive things happen last year. I know that they didn't have a great year statistically. But, I definitely think that they had some building blocks. I expect Jared Goff to be the quarterback this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions at 32 found a guy to draft for their franchise. Maybe Matt Corral, maybe a Desmond Ridder. Those are some guys that could go around this selection, maybe even in the second round. But for Detroit, I have them investing in the wide receiver position. I have them drafting Sky Moore. This is 2 Detroit first-round picks from Michigan. Sky Moore coming from Western Michigan. Hayden Hutchinson, obviously, coming from Michigan. But I really feel like this is investing in both sides of the ball for the Lions and is only going to get this team better. We know that they have TJ Hawkinson. We know that they have some decent pieces on the offense with Amon, Ross, and Brown. He had a decent year, but let's get some more compliments. Let's get Jared Goff some help, and let's build that offensive line a little bit deeper in the draft, and let's build that defense a little bit more deeper in the draft because those are definitely some needs that you guys had. Guys, this was my mock draft. I know it was a little bit long for a solo episode, but I hope you guys liked it. Mock draft 2 will be coming soon. Make sure you guys are staying tuned. And we have a lot more coming for us since the Sandbox. We have some of the biggest questions in the NFL draft coming up as an episode. So if you like the NFL draft content, make sure you stay tuned. Guys, it takes a lot of work to put this together. Make sure you're rating 5 stars. And plus, tell us if you like the new swag. If you want a shirt, let me know. I might, just might, be able to get one to you. 5 stars always. You guys know the deal. Peace out.
For all things great iron and hard top, it's Kevlu and Steve since the Sandbox.